They just started doing that within the last month. It's so weird.
I mean, that's good because what was that guy who wasn't wearing any pants? And then there was the other guy. As my voice cracks, there was the other guy who and I'll lift the laptop out of my crotch for a second. Hold on. There was the other guy who was doing a thing with the judge, and there was some kind of there was a filter, and he's like I'm not a cat.
I'm not. That's my favorite one. There's a filter.
God, that was so good.
I don't know what it is. I'm not a cat though, and they're like, yeah, we know you're not a cat. It's a filter.
Dude, so funny.
My favorite, just shooting from home when this all started, is the one of all the reporters that would just have their children walk in the background.
Yeah, or the or the one where they put the maid and the kid comes rolling through and the maid's terrified and the guy's trying to act all cool and suave and swat it.
And he's in a little roll. Yeah, she's going that way, and he's in a little rolly, and she grabs him and spins him out of the room.
I don't have any kids, but I would think that you'd be like, the kids. Like, what are you gonna do?
It happens.
People, they don't abide by the rules, man. All right, so sorry, podcast people. I've been if you see this glorious office, ooh, look at the luxury of Hollywood. Yes, living the glamorous life. So this is what a production office looks like when you're doing all the paperwork afterwards.
Oh yeah. So you're just finishing up a production. And we're just jumping right into it because I love this. We're jumping right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Mr. Zack Ward to the show. You are just finishing up a production?
Yeah, I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about it, to be honest. Let's see. It's
what's your involvement? Producing, acting, directing?
I literally am the production coordinator on this one. So that means, friends of mine produced it for another company, and it's got a lot of amazing people working on it. Not sure how much I'm allowed to say.
No, you don't have to. That's okay.
Cool. Okay, let me say this. Oscar award winner and an Oscar nominated person, Cia Vega, both worked on it. But I don't know how much more I'm allowed to say, and I don't want to get in trouble. So in this one, I was a production coordinator. And you might say, well, what's a production coordinator? It's an office bitch. Basically, I am the monkey that runs around and gets everybody to do their paperwork, sets up meals, sets up locations, sets up all this crap. Nothing fun about this. And then the great part is afterwards, grown ass people like, hey, can I give you money? I just need you to sign these papers. Oh, I don't wanna. Like, that's how the world works. I can't give you the monies unless you give me the information. So give me the paperwork. I don't wanna. Okay, super cool. Yeah. So even after so for all you kids out there in lipstick land, if you want to get into the film industry or any industry, learn to read your paperwork. If you fill out a W-4, that means you're going to be put on the payroll. What does that mean? That means that the payroll company is going to take out your taxes. So if you made $1,000, they'll probably take anywhere from 30 to 40%. So you walk away with $600 to $700. If on the other side, you get paid $1,000 and you sign a W-9, that's a W-9, and then that's for an independent contractor, which is a person doing business as, or a sole proprietor, an LLC, an S Corp, or C Corp. And then you send us an invoice like, dear Zack Ward's movie, I did this for you for 3 days at whatever amount per day, equaling a grand total. You need to pay me. And then I send you a check for the full $1,000. And at the end of the year, you tell the government how much money you made. And then together you decide how much you pay in taxes. So it's all about whether or not you want to keep your taxes in your pocket or you want to give it to the government and hope that they'll give you money back. Up to you. but kids at home, learn about your W4s and your W9s.
My wife knows all about them, which is why she does all of our taxes.
Yeah, I feel like a home ec teacher. This is ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you. Lots of great things that you've been in. You were in the first Freddy Krueger film I ever saw in the theater.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's the only Freddy Krueger movie I've seen in the theater. I would have said Jason, but Jason X was the first Jason Voorhees film, the first Friday the 13th film I saw in the theater.
Okay.
But that's Freddy versus Jason, and I love it. It's probably one of my favorite for both of them, for both Freddy and Jason. Like the originals, of course, are classics. But when you start getting into the sequels and you start getting into the other ones, for me, easily Jason X and Freddy versus Jason are top for my favorites.
Yeah, I think they had that. Like they had they were classics when they came out. Then they had the sequels, and they started dipping down in quality, and they got to a point where they were ridiculous, kind of like Batman Forever, where he's got the nipples. You know, it got to a point where you're like, come on, dude, like really. And then they started really finding the heart of it. I think with Freddy versus Jason, because the first script of Freddy versus Jason was very, very different. Freddy Krueger was a pedophile, not so much fun. And then Jason Voorhees was a mentally handicapped kid with rage issues, and it was just depressing and sad. Like there was nothing campy and fun about it. It was very stark, the first script. So I think what they did with it was a perfect combination of whimsy, ridiculous, over the top, campy comedy, but also had that fun edge. They do that thing where you're excited to watch the bad guy kill the pretty girl. That's a very weird, sadistic, potentially misogynistic thing to say. And it's not because she's a woman. It's just like the kills are so much fun. So it's, I think they captured all those classic tropes at the same time, didn't fall into basically satire, which the early sequels had a tendency to run a little amok.
Absolutely. In that film, you play Bobby Davis. You play the brother of one of the main characters, one of the only characters in the film to actually be killed by Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Were you originally just in that one scene, or were there other things that you were involved with? Was it just supposed to be that one scene?
I shot like 3 scenes, and the rest of them got cut. And then I shot that big one in the bathroom, in the bathtub full of blood. And then Robert Englund was teaching me how to walk and move like him, which was really exciting. And then soaking in a bathtub filled with red dye, I looked like a purple Smurf for about a week. As you can tell, I'm a ginger. I'm a red-haired man, and we have very pale skin. And apparently, we absorb red dye number 9 very, very well. So I just look constantly embarrassed. Yeah, pretty entertaining. But yeah, well.
No, go ahead.
No, that was it. Well worth it to do it.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's one of my favorites, one of the tops. But with that, we'll go ahead and dive into one of my favorite questions that I love to start with. And that's, have you ever walked out of a movie in the movie theater?
Yes, I have. I can't remember the name of it. It's such a piece of shit. It's that Adam Sandler movie.
Okay, wait. What year did it come out?
Oh gosh. It's the one where it's all his friends and they go to camp and they're having the best time. It's like,
is it Grown Ups?
Might have been Grown Ups.
It's either Grown Ups or Grown Ups 2, because I want to say that's the one with him and all of his friends.
Yeah, it's Grown Ups, and I like got 30 minutes in. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm done. This sucks. This is so bad.
And have you ever gone back to revisit it?
No.
No.
I'm good.
So obviously you never checked out Grown Ups 2.
No.
No. Any other movies that we've walked out of in the theater?
No.
No. All right. Just that one Adam Sandler flick.
Yeah, that the problem with that is like it was so sophomoric and stupid that it was insulting, and the jokes were so obvious that you knew you knew they were coming during the middle of the setup. So
You just left.
it just, what was the point? I realized I was going to be a downer on everybody else in the audience who was enjoying it, and that's their right. They paid their money, but I'm sitting there like, oh, oh yeah, oh really? Like I was just being a dick, and I realized that's you're now that guy. You need to go outside, do something else, because you're just fuck off, Zach. You're not a nice person, right? Oh, what would you look? What was that? So I just left.
With that, we do go from what I like to call the opposite spectrum, and that's a film that you couldn't stand to a film that you could just watch every day.
Shawshank Redemption.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, almost all the Coen Brothers stuff. Just a huge fan.
If you had to pick a favorite of the Coens, what would your favorite Coen Brothers film be?
Gosh, that's hard. I mean, The Big Lebowski is insane, dude. It works on so many levels.
Sure. Mine is always an unpopular opinion with most Coen Brothers fans, and mine is The Lady Killers.
I like that movie. It was a character study, and it really didn't have it's an anti-archetypal film, is what it is. It's an anti-archetypal film, because the structure you're expecting is the idiots. Well, spoiler alert, you're expecting that the idiots will find a way to pull it together in the middle of the third act, and they don't.
Not at all.
At all. And it's great, because if they did, it would have defeated the purpose of all of them being idiots.
Yeah,
I thought it was a fantastic character study. I thought it was great, and it was good to see those actors tear it up and do stuff where it didn't have the classic heroic journey.
And it was a great cast.
Yeah, that was a fun movie. That was really good. Simple plan, dude. A simple plan.
Really,
Come on.
really good one. Funny enough, I was just watching Collateral today. Jamie Foxx and Tom.
Dude, I just watched that like 2 weeks ago or a week ago.
So
fucking genius, bro.
Oh my God, so good. Do not remember, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't seen Collateral, do not remember Mark Ruffalo being in it. B, do not remember Mark Ruffalo dying in it.
What? I didn't know. Yeah, no, he was fantastic.
Funny enough, Jamie Foxx's mother in that movie is the old lady that rents the house in The Lady Killers.
What?
Yeah. I recognized her instantaneously from her voice.
And that was the first movie ever shot on digital. That was shot on the Viper. It was the first film done on the brand new format for filmmaking, for cinema.
Are you talking Collateral?
Collateral, yeah.
Wow.
It was the first one
on
the Viper, which is an early version Panavision camera, I believe. It was called the Viper. I mean, by today's standards, it's a joke, but it was one of the first ones on the scene, and he took a huge risk by trying to use a digital workflow back then. Like, if you think about it, what can I show you? So the movie we just shot, and it's a part of an anthology movie. So there's a bunch of small movies in the film. So here's the drive, okay? Now this drive, it's an SSD, solid state drive. And it's only 3 days worth of shooting, 2 cameras, and these are proxies. So you don't have to have a giant drive. But on my other feature that I directed, I've overwhelmed the 20 terabit drive, and I'm on to another 8 terabytes. So that's what the compression we have now. Think about what they had to deal with on the Viper, and you didn't have 20 terabyte drives. A 20 terabyte drive would be a unicorn back then, or a leprechaun. It didn't exist. You dreamt about it, and maybe you had a car that you could fill up. Like, the whole workflow must have been insane. And for Michael Mann to have leaned into that and be like, yeah, I'm going to do this. all his DPs must have been like, what? How does, okay, but I don't know how to light that or color correct it. Like so many technical things must have been a clusterfuck. I just love stuff like when Danny Boyle did 28 Days Later and that epic scene where Cillian Murphy, am I saying it right?
I think so.
Cillian Murphy, and I apologize if I'm saying his name wrong, but just one of the greatest actors ever, dude. And he's walking through the streets of London and it's completely abandoned. And the way they did that was like 30 prosumer level cameras just posted all over the place, and they shut that area down for 5 minutes. 5 minutes to get like 15 minutes worth of footage. Yeah, at like some ungodly hour in the morning. And, you know, I just love moments and stories like that where filmmakers are struggling, pushing the levels of technology and sanity to try and make something happen. And it's dope. Yeah, Collateral, I love that movie. Tom Cruise, I think that was one of the first films, that was after Mission Impossible, but where he played a bad guy and he was scary as hell, dude.
Very intimidating.
Oh my God, he was awesome. He was awesome.
Yeah, I worked at an AMC when that movie came out, so I was able to see it for free. I saw a lot of movies for free, but that was one that when it came out, I loved it so much. My buddies and I went and saw it probably 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, that's one of those films you can watch over and over and ask a lot of questions. Let's talk about other films that are great to watch repeatedly.
Oh, well, my favorite film of all time is Blues Brothers. I could watch that movie every day, no questions asked.
That's a great movie. The Goonies.
Oh,
the Goonies, I adore The Goonies, but sometimes it's better with the sound off. Because I'm 51 years old and those little kids yelling and talking over each other can wear on my last nerve so fast. So fast. Did you ever see, so you know the classic moment of the Goonies is they get at the very end, their parents are there and they're all running around. And I think his Data is like, oh, and this, and the giant octopus. Remember that?
Yeah.
And there's no giant octopus in the movie, right?
There is if they play it on cable TV.
Have you ever seen the giant octopus?
I have seen, and Data gets rid of it by taking his headset and throwing it in the beak on max volume.
It's horrible. That animatronic is atrocious. No wonder they took it out. So I love the Goonies, Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, easily. Most John Carpenter, I can easily, just no questions asked.
Yeah. Well, Ghosts of Mars, I'm good. I'll pass.
I want to say In Mouth of Madness is him, and I can do that one.
Mouth of Madness is great. I really like that step into the, what do they call it? Existential dread. And they also did that on Event Horizon. Like that's a really hard angle to pop. Like Event Horizon, great movie, and then just got F to the A by the studio at the end. I like movies that try to hit that H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhian level monstrosity because it's so hard to actually grasp.
I saw Event Horizon when it was in the theater original run as a teenager, and it scared the living shit out of me.
Yeah, right? And I think that's about good horror films. Like there's an aspect of, holy crap, that's terrifying. I don't understand it. That's okay. Right? Like that's okay.
That's why you rewatch it.
Watch The Shining. All right, at the very end, you've always been the caretaker. You've always been the caretaker. Would you like another drink? Mm-hmm. So at the very end, he's in the picture of the New Year's Eve celebration in 1911. So what the fuck happened? Was he at the 1911 New Year's Eve and then died and then came back as a ghost and a body and it looked exactly the same? Or did he die and then go into the picture and that's where they store all the caretakers who are going to go back into other people? And my favorite part of that is the very beginning, like, welcome to the Overlook Hotel. There's the maze. Over here is the pool. It's closed at this time of year. There's a golf course, a tennis court built on an ancient Indian burial ground. Here's the kitchen. Over there's the woodshed. You're like, hold up, what was it?
Indian girl?
Built on a what? Built on ancient Indian burial ground. On Tuesday, it's taco night. You're like, huh? Okay. I think that's the part of it that makes it scary. You look at a Stephen King book, and this, like, the scariest part. I remember reading it when I was a teenager, young man. Terrifying. And then you get to that part. Spoiler alert. Kids, look away. Look away, kids. So in the book, you get to the point of space spider, and your brain goes, "Oh, I don't give a fuck." Like, man, who gives a shit? Space spider. I think space spider in the dick. Who cares? Yeah, I think it's the unknown that helps you look at your closet funny and hear noises from under your bed. It's not the objective summation of a baddie that actually fills you with terror.
Have you seen the documentary Room 237?
No. What's that?
It is a documentary purely about The Shining. And it goes into like a bunch of theories. Like they go into a full floor plan layout of when Jack walks into the hotel, going to the manager's office, and how in the manager's office, there's a window with a view of the background, but then they do a full overhead like blueprint. And the way the building is designed, there should be no window there. They also, it's like, if you got a little bit of time, when you have a little bit of time, I know you're a busy man with that.
Is it on Netflix or something?
Last time I saw it was on Netflix.
So they've got conspiracy theory that Kubrick was like, it represents the 7 levels of hell, Dante's Inferno, and each one is a sign number that if you line them up, they give you the name of God and open up the cell of the beast, or the production designer fucked up. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't go that far, but there's a bunch of other stuff. Like they say that Kubrick hints at being behind the moon landing because Danny is wearing a sweater with a space shuttle and like the number of the flight that it was that landed on the moon. Like it's a full documentary that they just deep dive into The Shining. I love it.
Yeah, well, with 2001: A Space Odyssey, he called Hal because it was one letter off of IBM.
I did not know that.
Oh, look, I just educated your ass.
That's awesome.
HAL. It's all one letter off from IBM, and therefore it's right. So it's saying that they're the big overlord machine that's going to ruin us.
That's amazing.
Or if you made a cool name, like you don't know.
But yeah, when you get the time, I'd say check out Room 237.
Thank you. I will.
Going back to a more youthful time in your life, what are some movies that take you back to your childhood?
One of the big ones would be Highlander. Loved the Highlander. So cool. That's actually when I first started getting into Scotch because I'm Conor MacLeod of Clan MacLeod on the shores of Dunhagen, and I am immortal. And he drinks. I just forgot the name of Glenmorangie. So I went into a bar and I asked for a shot of Glenmorangie, and I was not accustomed to the peaty flavor, so I did not like it. But I wanted to be Conor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod from the shores of Dunhagen, and I am immortal. That's cool.
That's awesome.
Phantom of the Paradise. I have an older brother who's 8 years older than me, so he made me watch movies that were really appropriate for my age, which I think is awesome. So I saw, if no one's ever seen Phantom of the Paradise. Hey, Kent, what's going on, bud?
I'm gonna grab water.
Okay, it's not in here anymore. It's in the stage 1, stage 2, and over in the kitchen area.
Oh, Ace said go through here.
Oh, we'll give it a shot if you can.
Yeah, I'll take everything.
Okay.
It's piss.
Sweet. I'm on a podcast, so it's cool, man. Just walking when people are talking. That's good, kid. You make yourself feel fucking at home, buddy. Yeah. I'm gonna call your mom. Phantom of the Paradise, Easy Rider, French Connection, The Deer Hunter. So those were my kid movies.
Those are your childhood movies. All right.
My childhood movies. Star Wars, obviously, I was 7 or 8. No, sneak out quietly now, Ken. I remember I saw Star Wars 13 times in the theaters when I was a kid because I got to come out. I was 8 years old. It was 1977, and I got to come out to California. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I got to come out and visit my dad. And he was working, I stayed with my grandparents. Grandparents really had no interest in spending any time with me, and one was playing golf and the other was drinking. And so they dropped me off at the mall and like, here's $5. Have a nice day. So about 4 hours later or 6 hours later, they'd come pick me up and I would watch Star Wars 2-3 times in a row, and then play video games because that was awesome.
So you saw it 13 times in the theater.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen, like, I like to brag that I saw Jurassic Park 9 times.
Oh, you're not such a big man now, are you?
No, I'm not. You fucking saw Star Wars 13. Like,
Well,
Jesus.
I'm probably a little older than you. How old are you?
I'm 38. I was born in 82.
Yeah, you're adorable. So the thing is, you probably had other shit to do. And I was out in the middle of this golfing community in a dry lake bed of California with nothing else to do but hide in an air-conditioned mall. And I didn't know anybody else. So it's not like I could hang with my friends. So yeah.
Yeah. So no, I mean, still though, I mean, God.
We didn't have video games in 78, dude. There were no video games, bro.
This is true. I was playing Nintendo and probably.
Yeah. There are no arcades really, unless you wanted to play pinball. And I didn't like everything.
And there you go. Well, I mean, it goes, your childhood straight to my childhood in 1983. Your debut role, Scut Farkas, in A Christmas Story, a movie that, God rest their soul, my mother and my uncle Tom would play every year at Christmas, especially with the TBS 24-hour movie marathon of A Christmas Story. You were filming that was 83. You were born in 70, so you were about 11.
9. The stuff on IMDb is wrong.
You know where I'm getting my facts. So either way, 83. So how old were you when you filmed that?
12, 13 years old. I think I just turned 13.
And I mean, everyone's gonna say it's a timeless classic. It's easily one of the films that you have to watch during Christmas time. With that being
if you're not Jewish or Muslim or Hindi or
I'd say it's great for all religions, even if you don't celebrate Christmas. It's a great film that's going to relate because everyone's going to have those issues with parents. Oh, are we there?
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing thing to be part of. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
You stuttered for a second. Are we still recording?
We're still recording.
My connection is unstable, it says, but
you froze up for a second, but that's okay. Do you have any fun stories or anything that you really remember from filming that?
I was trying to do a Frozen.
No, you held it really well.
A lot of fun. I did not get. Thank you. It was a great time. We shot for 5 weeks. Those are some of my best friends. Yano and I, who played Grover Dill, he and I are still very, very close. Scotty Schwartz, who played Flick, we're very close friends. I've known these guys since I was 13 years old. That's 38 years. That's a bit as long as you've been alive. So it's a pretty dope experience to be able to be part of something that has become part of other people's lives, and then they share it with their families, and it's something that is part of a good moment in their life. And therefore, when they meet me and they connect me to that experience, they're including me in their joyous memories, although we've never met in person, and it's like being a long lost family member. It's really delightful. It's very sweet. I'm eternally grateful for it. I've done other movies, obviously. I've done some film. You look at my IMDb, I've done a lot of films. and you can see like even the ones that are worldwide successes, if it's Transformers or it's Almost Famous or it's Resident Evil Apocalypse, none of them carry the soul connection to audiences like A Christmas Story does. And Christmas Story was a low budget feature that magic happened. Didn't do well in the theaters, was beloved on VHS, and then did this 24-hour marathon and people just fell in love with it. And it's a really crazy thing. I don't think that's ever going to happen again. I don't think it could happen again.
One more question about A Christmas Story, and we'll move on, because come to realize you are the second actor that I've had on the show that has been able to work with Mr. Bob Clark. I had Tony Ganios from Porky's.
Okay.
He plays Meat.
Okay.
And how was Bob Clark as a director dealing with the kids?
Nicest guy in the world. Like so that was my first feature film I ever did. So I was used to doing commercials, and on commercials back in those days, commercial directors are very flamboyantly aggressive. Like, hey, get the fuck over here. I'm talking to you. Are we shooting? God damn it, I don't have time for this shit. Like, it seemed like there was a lot of cocaine on set back in the early 80s. And Bob was the antithesis of that. Bob was the lovable uncle, the sweet man, the guy who, I was a kid. I was not necessarily good at what I did. I looked like it, and he was patient, and he could get it out of me. And when I was messing up my lines, he'd take his time and massage the moment with me, work with me to get that moment to make sense and connect, and not make me feel belittled or frustrated with me. And there's an entire crew waiting, and I'm a kid messing up his shit that he should know, but I'm a kid. And he was able to make that fun and easy. And, he's the guy that when you're a kid, you get to know him, you run up and give him a hug. That's what he was like. He was a sweet, kind, wonderful, wonderful man. And I miss him all the time.
And I just think it's crazy because not a lot of people realize it. He directed Porky's. He directed, which is one of the greatest like teenage dirty films of all times.
Teenage films, I think they're called. Yeah.
He did Christmas Story, which is like the greatest Christmas film ever, and he did like the original Black Christmas, like a film that's been remade like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, but none of them stand up to the original.
None of them.
Honestly, the original has the very first usage in American cinema of the camera being the POV of the antagonist, of the scary guy looking through the closet or whatever. And the camera is being that, but when the person turns to look, whoop, it ducks away. He was the first person to do that stuff over here. And it sucks because right before he died, Steven Spielberg and Quentin Tarantino they were actually in negotiations with Bob to redo some of his earlier films.
Wow.
Like Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, like Black Christmas. He was getting the recognition as an American legendary filmmaker, and especially as one that had traversed many genres. He wasn't, he just didn't do talking dog movies his entire career. It was a bunch of talking dogs. He did everything, horror, comedy, and action, and some talking baby movies. So,
and not every director can say that. I can't think of a single film that Spielberg's directed that would be considered horror, except AI.
Not even Jaws, eh?
I'd say that's more of a thriller than a horror. That's a suspense thriller than for me. I mean, yeah, I guess some people could call it a horror.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. But it's kind of but there are very few directors that can actually step out of their niche and try other things. And I'm not saying it's because they don't have the talent to do it. It's because they don't have the opportunity, or no one's willing to finance them doing that thing that they haven't proved that they could do. Sure. And the fact that Bob started off doing ultra low budget schlock films, and then became an American icon is
Pretty amazing.
yeah, it's
Uh,
pretty rad.
and we're talking about Black Christmas. That leads us to horror films, scary films in general. Do you remember the first movie to give you nightmares?
I think it was Phantom of the Paradise.
All right.
It was scary, dude.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just agreeing. Like Phantom of the Paradise. That's the first time like that answer has come up for this question. Not the first time it's come up on the show, but first time it's come up for this answer. That's a real interesting one.
Intense movie. Yeah, I think that was the first time. I mean, I think that was the first one. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, folks, if you haven't seen Phantom of the Paradise, what are you doing with your life? Really?
Surprise yourself. Don't look at any trailers.
It's
Don't
like
look at reviews. Don't look at the poster. Don't look at the cover art. Rent it somehow.
and just
If
watch
you
it.
buy a DVD, do not even look at the cover. Put it in your DVD player. Do not look. Get your popcorn. Turn off your phone. Tell your significant other who talks during the movie to shut up. Everybody go pee first. God damn it. Watch a movie like you're supposed to watch a movie. Sit there with your mouth shut, or your mouth can be open in awestruck wonder, and watch the movie. And don't know what's coming for you.
I tell everyone the exact same thing, but for the aristocrats.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah. Do you know that documentary?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Actually,
Very classy, very elegant.
it's
Renowned throughout Europe. One of the greatest tumbling performers in any circus in the world. Some of the greatest aerialists known to man, and it's a tragedy. It's a straight up tragedy. What happened to the youngest of them, and they've never found the culprit or solved the crime.
never.
And I don't know if those people at home would be brave enough.
I could tell you it's available on Amazon Prime.
I'm sorry. I don't think your listeners or your watchers have the tenacity and the courage to watch The Aristocrats. I don't think they can do it. Maybe prove me wrong, but I think they're cowards.
Maybe. You did mention a great film. I work at a job where I have time while I'm inputting a lot of information to play movies in the background.
Nice.
I recently rewatched all of the Resident Evil series, which for the majority I did see in the theater. And to my surprise,
Yes.
I see Mr. Zack Ward as Nikolai.
Nikolai Janofov.
And that must have been so much fun with the sets and just being in a Resident Evil movie. Like,
Yeah. I really love the first Resident Evil film. I thought it was super cool. It's still to this day it's my favorite one out of all of them, including the one I'm in. Yeah, it was dope ass to do that film. All the I have a martial arts background, so I really got into all the fight training. I got to train with Spaznauts and which are Russian commandos.
actual Spetsnaz?
Yeah, we were doing all these kill houses. We were using this weapon. This is a Tavor bullpup, bullpup means the magazine is behind the trigger. So on an M16, when you have the magazine up there and you're like click, you rack it. I can't remember the name of it. Thing, and then you get the magazine up here. Well, when you put the magazine behind the trigger, everything gets smaller, and that's called a bullpup. So this weapon was called a Tavor submachine gun bullpup, and it was a brand new Israeli prototype. Cool as hell looking, jammed up all the time, but it was really fun. And then I got to do all this fight training with Spaznauts and lifting, just to be in shape guy. Even though I was wearing all this body armor. And really cool little inside track, a little knowledge. For those of you who know the movie, there's a scene where we're walking through a school and we find zombie children. And then I am down in the cafeteria and I am someone else. What's the character's name? Blah blah blue. She wears the blue.
Jane. It was Jane. Jane Valentine.
Yes.
Her real name is like Sierra or Sienna.
Yeah. So Jane Valentine is being attacked by the zombie dogs, and then I come in. No, she's being attacked by zombies, and and I'm taking them out like a badass. I'm super cool, right? And then I come up to one, take out my sidearm. It's a HK-45 Parabellum, big ass gun. It's a special version that's used by the Navy SEALs because it's ported so you can shoot underwater at somebody. You know how the Navy SEALs like come up, look around, and then go, poof, and then that's what they do. They're all like, they don't make the googly eyes like I do. That's my thing. So I had the same gun. It was a huge ass gun, and then I go right to the camera and I say, "Stay," right? Like this is a dog, you know. I wrote that line, by the way. The stay, that I added it, and they were like, "Oh, that's genius." So the cool thing about that whole scene, that's my high school, Northern Secondary High. Was a high school that I went to through grade 9 through 13. Yeah, we had grade 13 in Canada. And the funny thing is, I've never been invited to a high school reunion ever. I gotta be honest with you, I don't know how they work. My wife knows how they work. I have no clue. Do you invite yourself? Do you just show up? Is there a protocol? Does the school organize it? I don't know. And so I've never been invited to a high school graduation, but to be able to be in a movie, being a badass mofo, killing zombies and shit, and it's your high school, that was pretty dope, dude.
That's pretty awesome. And I mean, for me, I think it's pretty cool. I love accents and voices. I once had a manager at work bet me that I could not speak with Russian accent for 8-hour shift. Whole shift, no questions asked, only Russian accent. I look at him, I go, "You are crazy, man. I'm going to get a box of candy from this for free for me just messing with people out there speaking Russian accent." So that must have been a lot of fun for you.
It was, and it got made easier because Mila Jovovich is Russian. And this other guy who's in my platoon, my squad, there's me, Oded Fair, and another dude who ends up turning into a zombie and we got to kill. But he was also a Russian guy. And so I would run my dialogue by them, and then I would look for certain words that I could drop in, like bratik means brother. So, you know, I try and find ways to take the dialogue and then add, like, drop little Russian words in it that would make sense in context, whether or not you as a human being understood Russian. And it worked. I thought it came out pretty good. And then it was a pretty good accent.
It's a fun one. I'm a big fan of Jill Valentine in the game series, so it was exciting for me to see a screen representation of her.
I played the game because I could never get the fucking controls to work. So my character would always walk around in a circle in the game and I'd be like, "Fuck this."
Yeah. My brother was bigger on the game than I was, so I watched him play a lot. And funny enough, his name was Nick. With that though, do you remember the first movie that you saw in the theater?
My mom's an actress, so she would take me to kind of alternative type films that wouldn't typically be in your main run theaters. I do remember seeing La Cage aux Folles in theaters. The American name is The Birdcage.
The Birdcage.
And if your viewers have not seen The Birdcage, again, don't look at a trailer. Shut up, buy it, watch it. I still, to this day, dude, I will watch that thing and I will cry. I will laugh so hard. Nathan Lane murders me. Just murdered the whole thing. Everybody, when the senator is getting confused, she's not a woman. What do you mean she's not a woman? She's a good conservative Christian. That's a man, Daddy. That's a man. Well, what are you saying? What is that actor's name? Brilliant actor.
Gene Hackman.
Hackman. Oh my God. Like there isn't, and that's the American version, and it's flawless. And Madonna, 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 and you keep it all inside, right? Robin Williams at his fucking greatest. But I saw the original La Cage aux Folles in theaters, and it's French subtitles because it was a play in Europe. So that was awesome. I remember seeing Peter Sellers in Being There. If y'all haven't seen Being There, go watch it. Seeing the Pink Panther films in theaters. Yeah, those were fun.
Those are some great ones.
Yeah.
Man, you have been on so many TV shows. If not for the entirety of Titus, you were both on CSI Vegas, New York, and Miami.
I did every CSI there is.
You did, and I don't know. I mean, I didn't do the research, but I don't know if there's like been any other actor that essentially is not a core actor doing a crossover. You know what I mean?
I wonder. I'll check my mail to see if there's a medal in there. I think I die in every single one. No, I don't die in all of them. But yeah, that was fun. Those are fun shit.
Some of the names that jumped out, and if none of these apply, but some of these shows I loved, some of these shows I thought were great. But Sliders, Party of Five, NYPD Blue, Charmed, Warehouse 13, Breakout Kings, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, American Horror Story, like so many great projects. What would you say would be one of your favorite just TV projects you've worked on?
Always Sunny. Always Sunny is a big one. I just think those guys are hilarious.
Yeah, they just loaded the new season up on Hulu, so I'm gonna give that a watch.
TV series in history. How crazy! Longest running live TV show in history.
I did not know that.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I've done I've done a lot of TV shows, and they all have their own different flavor. Some of them are a lot of fun. Some of them are a paycheck, and you go home and you're happy to be off the set.
What was it like on the set of Titus? Like, did you form a real brother like friendly?
Yeah. I mean we did 3 years, 54 episodes. And you're living and breathing comedy at the time, which is just fantastic. A lot of fun. Yeah, it was a great time in my life. I would have loved to have been able to do that for many more years, and that would have been really fun. I learned a lot. From it.
That's great. What is a movie that you feel that you can watch once and you never have to watch it again?
Do I have to have seen it, or is it one of those things I can like just throw? I don't know. Once and never watch it again. Huh.
And that kind of comes down to whether it's a film that's so impactful or whether it is a film is so ridiculous. Like I always personally say, like
Aquaman, I'm good. I saw it. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna move the fuck on with my life. I just don't care.
I
was watching it. My wife walked in the TV room, and it was on the television. I was like, I think I rented it. I even rented it during the COVID, right?
Sure.
Kids are doing it on the televisions, and I'm watching it. My wife walks in. She's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "It's Aquaman." And she sits down for a second. She's like, "Well, this is ridiculous." I was like, "Yeah, I noticed that. This is stupid." And she just got up and left. I was like, "But I paid for that." God damn it.
I love that you say that, because I got a buddy who co-hosts another podcast with me, and he's got a big heart on for DC over Marvel, and he loves Aquaman.
Or a hard on?
A hard on.
Like he hates him, or he wants to make
no, like he loves DC superior over to Marvel when it comes to movies.
Okay.
he looks at me, he goes, man, Infinity Wars, Endgame, they're just too long. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, they're cinematic masterpieces. They're only like the number 1 and 2 film of movies of all time.
Infinity Wars, I mean, that whole run with ending at Endgame is a masterpiece. Is genius. That's genius. Like the DCEU can't even fucking compare to that.
No, not at all.
Struggling to catch up, and then they did all that desaturated bullshit, and then they made story points that, yep, don't save your dad during the tornado, because everyone will know, let alone the fact that you pulled all these kids out of a bus that was going into a lake. Stupid. Oh, can't you move faster than a bullet? You could have just
Saved him.
I've seen the fucking comic books, bro. I was a comic book nerd. You're almost on par with the Flash, but you don't have the Speed Force. Yes, I nerd good, boy. And yet you're gonna have this. You can't, father. By the time he finished the F in father, he could have picked his ass up, put him down somewhere else, and be like, oh, he must have gotten taken away. Oh, he's fine over there now. It's just, or Martha, how do you know that name? Really? That's the big. Okay, cool. And Lex Luthor is some complete tool. Get the fuck out of here. Come on.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually did like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
Did you? I could not stand it. It's
I
like
did, and I really liked Affleck as Batman.
I liked Affleck as Batman. I thought Affleck as Batman was good. Jesse Eisenberg, it's too much. Like it's like the same thing when Wonder Woman walks into a ball, into a cotillion, into a party, wearing a ball gown with a fucking sword sticking up, as if everyone's like, "What a lovely necklace! Oh, enchanté!" And like, I don't know, a pair of Jeeves. Where did you get that? Is that from Tiffany's? Like, no, dude, no. It's a sword in your back. You don't get to just meh. And if you're walking around like Jesse Eisenberg, like, here you go, General, eat the candy. He would beat you to death, bro. Like that is. I have family in the military. You don't start hand feeding them gummy bears. They'll rip off your leg and kill you with it. So the problem with that is once you defeat the logic of your own universe, none of the rules work. And that's why, like, look, in Harry Potter, they use owls, even though they live in a time where they have cell phones, because during what's the final one? The two
Deathly Hollows.
The Deathly Hollows, they're in England, and somebody whips out a fucking cell phone. And part of your brain's got to go, why would you send an owl? The slowest bird in the world. That's just cruel. And you can apparate anywhere you want to go, instantaneously go from one place to another, and you have cell phones? Well, fuck off. Like, no, how about you whip out a wand, I'll take a Colt 45, and I'll kill your ass before you can say, Kazamity boobity boop. I'll triple tap you, bro. 2 in the chest, 1 in the forehead, you little wizard bitch. And the same problem exists with the DCEU. You either stick to the rules that people can see a sword coming out of your ass or they can't. Or with Jesse Eisenberg is being Lex Luthor and an obnoxious twat of a human being in front of grown-ass men and women, it doesn't go together. It's like when Spider-Man jumped the shark on the Venom suit and it became Bully Parker doing all this crap.
That's actually one of my favorite bits of Into the Spider-Web or Into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse?
Yeah, it's when
that movie fucking ruled.
It's when they show the bit from Spider-Man 3 and he just goes, we don't talk about that time.
But see, Into the Spider-Verse was brilliant, was fantastic. I'm sorry, the DCEU, I gotta be honest, I've gotten to a point now after Endgame, I don't need to see any more Marvel movies. There's nothing else coming out that I'm like, ooh,
What are
I'm
the stakes?
I'm really excited for the new Spider-Man movie. I have done what you have said, like with Phantom of the Paradise. Like, I haven't read anything about the new Spider-Man movie. I have tried to avoid everything at all costs. And I'm just so excited with the way that they ended Homecoming.
Yeah, that was good.
Like I'm so fucking just pumped. Spider-Man is one of my favorite, like he's probably my favorite Marvel superhero. So like anything they do Spider-Man, I'm in for.
Everybody's because I give you, especially the classics when he's the picked on nerd and everything. I think we all identified as the underdog and the kid who was awkward, and and I love the fact that Morales, they're gonna do the Morales version. I think he's great. I just thought Into the Spider-Verse was fantastic. I loved it, and the music was epic, dude.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Killed.
yeah, it's that whole thing, just with the pure, I just love the pure idea of the multiverse, let alone the multiverse in the MCU. People are going to think I'm crazy, let alone the idea of a multiverse in real life, where every action that you take, there's a universe where you take the opposite choice. Like if you're sitting there and going like, well, should I choose Cindy or should I choose Jane? In one universe you pick Cindy, in another universe you pick Jane. There might be a universe where you don't even pick either of them. Like,
You pick Joe and Daniel, or you pick
exactly.
And yeah, no, I mean it's interesting. I've got a friend of mine just visited the studio. That's where I'm at right now, our studio here in Los Angeles. And a buddy of mine is a nuclear physicist. He's the head of theoretical physics over at Yale, and his wife has got her doctorate in nuclear physics, and she was at CERN. They were both at CERN when the Higgs boson was quantified, and his wife Rosie was hanging out with Peter Higgs, who postulated the whole theory with Higgs, or the other guy. Anyways, so yeah, the whole quantum theory of multidimensional math and nth dimensions, and that's fucking cool, especially when you start looking at these big brain guys who are looking at astrophysics and the breakdown, the replication of the Fibonacci numbers, and how things are designed in such a way, and they keep on extrapolating along a level that cannot replicate itself by coincidence. So it's just odd. It's just very odd. And that whole simulation theory being like, if you're playing a video game, the video game is not aware of the computer that's driving it, because it can't be, right? Like it's the same thing as flatland theory. Like if you're two-dimensional and you run a sphere through it, all you'll see is the outline of a circle going from small to big and back to small, because you see things in 2 dimensions. And if you were in a 3-dimensional world and something that's 4th dimensional is going through, it would present itself in a way that we wouldn't be able to grasp it. So even if we were a simulation, there'd be no way to quantify it, because it would be embedded in the nature of our existence to such a level that it would not stand. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. I don't have the fucking education for this conversation. I really don't. But I sit on the edge going, yeah, no, yeah, totally understand quantum string theory. Yeah, Michio Kaku, right on. But yeah, pretty neat shit.
That's awesome. With that, we do come to the final question of the show, and that's a movie recommendation for the listeners, a movie that you love that you think everybody should go check out.
That's a really good question. That, my friend, is a really good question. Gosh, I know I'll think of a great one on my way home, and right now my brain is a void. Well, let's see. There's a movie I directed that if you want to check it out on Amazon Prime, it's free. Check out, look up Restoration by Zack Ward, not the one with Robert Downey Jr. Thank you. And so this is for you blossoming filmmakers. This movie we shot for $75,000 and posted for 15. and it's been sold and distributed all over the world. And it is far from perfect, but there are some cool moments in there. And I wrote it, and I directed it, and I'm in it, and I edited it, and my mom's in it. And so if you are if you're interested in being a filmmaker, by all means, take a look at this movie and ask me questions specifically about it. And don't be a dick, but also don't blow smoke up my ass. There's some cool scenes in the movie. And there may be some things where you ask me why I did it or how we did this, or there'll be certain things that you like or other things that you hate. And even if there's something you think that sucks, go, hey, I like this, but this thing, I wish you had done this instead. And there's always this. I'm like, yes, I wish I had done some other things too, but we didn't have the money or the time. But maybe that's the education some people can use to step on my shoulders and do better when they make their first feature, is kind of an education by osmosis through that process. And maybe if you do that, hit me up on Twitter. It's total, TOTAL, Zack Ward, ZACK WRD at twitter.com. And if you're going to do that, you can tell me what your favorite movie is to watch, and I'll see if I like it. One of the movies that I just watched the other day is on Netflix. It's called Homunculus, by the same director who did Ichi the Killer. It's a Japanese subtitle film. It's pretty dope, really cool.
All right.
So I think you might dig it.
And
But yeah, check out Restoration. Ask me filmmaking questions. I'm happy to help. And maybe you have some guidance for me, because I'm always happy to learn.
absolutely. And with that, we do come to the end of the show. Where can people find you? Do you have any projects that are coming up that you can talk about?
Well, let me give you my home address. I'm just kidding. So if you hit me up on Instagram and let's see, where's the pen? Instagram and Twitter is Total Zack Ward. Let's see. Total Zack Ward at Instagram or Twitter. And then I've got now it's backwards. I'm an idiot. Okay.
No, it'll come up fine. I can read it perfectly.
Yeah, those are the best places to hit me up. I have a Facebook that I go on occasion. If you DM me on any of these things, and it's not, look, I won't deal with weird, creepy questions. If you send me a picture, if you send me a question asking to see more of my feet, we're not going to get along well. I have gotten that, and I'm so stupid. It took me to be like, I wonder if they want to send me some shoes and they're checking out my thighs. No, just because they're creepy. So that's not an option. Yeah, and if you're the question I hate the most when someone's on Twitter or on Instagram is they send me a direct message going, hey, are you that guy in those movies? And I'm like, you're on the fucking internet. Like, how stupid are you? Just asked me to Google myself for you whilst you're on the Googles. Go do your own Googles, man. Wipe your own Google. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But any other semi-intelligent question, I'm happy to answer. Yeah, so those are the best places if I haven't totally offended you already.
That's awesome. And as we come to a close, we always like to keep a PMA, a positive mental attitude. Do you have any message of positivity or a personal mantra that you'd like to leave the listeners with as we end the show?
I do. Think about this. When things get you down and you feel overwhelmed, you know what you know. You know your name, you know your house, you know your friends. You know what you know. And then you know what you don't know. I know I don't know quantum theory. I know I don't know how my phone works. So I know what I don't know. But then there's a third version. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what's coming that's good. You don't know what's coming that's bad. So you have to keep an open mind, because the very next moment could be fantastic. And if you choose to dwell in negativity, and I understand that it's overwhelming sometimes when crap goes bad, but the very next second could be your last, or the very next second could be your greatest, and you might miss it because you are choosing to wallow in your own crap. So every time something kicks you in the leg and you're pissed, you know what you know what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. And that could be an amazing surprise that's going to just walk into your life with a delight. So keep your heart and your mind open for that. And it'll happen more than you'd expect.
I love that. Zack, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. You've been a treat, brother. I appreciate it.
And ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of The Last Podcast You'd Want. And until next week, tip the veal, try the staff. I'll see you then.